Okay, great. Thank you. Well, greetings to everybody for the City Council's June 16th meeting, regular meeting. And we are going to start off with the pledge to the flag, and I'm going to be joined by Dan.
Mayor, we had the 5 o'clock meeting.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just got to finish up some business here. So we're going to go ahead and hear from City Attorney Barrow about what was discussed in closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. As previously announced, the City Council went into closed session to have a conference with its labor negotiators with respect to the employee groups identified on the agenda. There was no reportable action taken. At this time, it'd be appropriate to adjourn the 5 o'clock meeting.
Okay, so we adjourn the 5 o'clock meeting, and now we open up the June 16th regular meeting. So we'd like to start that off with a pledge to the flag. We're going to be joined by Broin, right here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Thank you. You can just stand right here. I'll get back to you in a moment. So can we please have the roll call?
Councilmember Sherillian.
Here.
Councilmember Howorth.
Here.
Councilmember Lesser.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tarnay.
Here.
Mayor Franklin.
Here. I'd also like to take a brief moment to honor all active duty military and veterans in the audience, whether you were a National Guard, reservist, or on active duty. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service. And now we're going to take the ceremonial calendar a little bit out of order because we have Dash here. So let me just get some of my paperwork together here. And we're going to be, Dash, why don't you come on up here? So we're going to be honoring Dash this evening because he has been accepted into the United States Military Academy at West Point from Costa. So we're just a little bit early for you to, for the other acknowledgement. So why don't you tell us how you got, you made the decision to go, how you went about the process?
So I found out my freshman year of high school at an event at the National Cemetery in Brentwood. I was at an event and they had representatives from all the academies there, and that got me very interested in the academies. And then sort of that day I went home, did some research on the academies, and then I sort of just realized that's where I wanted to go to school and that I wanted to serve in the United States Army. And then, so I did what you needed to do to stay on track, to be considered a candidate. And then I got accepted to the summer leadership program last year. And then I went there at West Point, that program, and I loved it. And then after that, I continued with my application, and I was fortunate enough to get in. So I committed instantly when I got in.
That's terrific. And what do you have to look forward to? Like, how long is it a regular university? Because a lot of people don't know, actually.
So I leave in 10 days, and I'll start basic training around June 20. So our first day is June 29th, but there's a couple things before that. So it's not a regular four-year university. You're expected to do a lot of military stuff. So you have basic training, and then you have a lot of details throughout your 4 years there that you have to go through to graduate.
And then how about your commitment
And then after graduation, I'll serve five years in the active duty in the Army and then 3 years in the reservists.
Well, again, thank you so much. We're very proud of you. We want to issue a certificate for you. This is a certificate of recognition for Dash Broin for demonstrating exceptional character, maintaining academic excellence, and proving outstanding leadership, ultimately leading to acceptance into the United States Military Academy at West Point. Of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Repair.
All right. I think your dad wants some pictures. Counselor?
It wasn't accepted.
Come on, kids.
Yeah, do you want the brother and sister?
Yeah, of course.
You guys want to step it in the front? Yeah, in the front. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so our next ceremonial, may I ask Janet Allen? Okay. And it's with my apology because I got her mixed up with their twin sister earlier. So that's great. So Janet, we want to present you with a certificate of recognition for exceptional service to MB United and invaluable guidance, empowering mentorship, and profound contributions to organizing the annual Juneteenth celebration. So I just want to thank you so much. And now is the time that you can go ahead and tell us all about it.
Thank you so much for this honor. I just remember we were all here in this boardroom in January 2024, and we were planning and voting and all of us pushing forward for the Manhattan Beach City to adopt a 3-year plan for Juneteenth. And we're just so thankful and grateful that that moved forward. And since then, so many Mira Costa students and graduates, some are still at Costa, some have gone on to 4-year colleges and universities, and so excited about all of the work that's been done. And I just want to thank not only this city council and board, but we also want to thank the city planning committee. I definitely have to acknowledge Tracy and Roe, who really thought of me and brought my name forward. So, and they're here tonight. Thank you. And MB United, like, just very, very excited. And I invite all of you this Sunday to these exciting festivities here in Manhattan Beach at Pollywog Park for the Juneteenth celebration with lots of music, celebration, poetry, competition, art, lot of legacies that will be there from young to old, and we're just so excited to keep bringing forward this generational history and just lots of love. So we're so excited. So everyone here, please come and join us on Sunday afternoon. Thank you.
So I have another question. So what is the impact for students? I mean, here, this is such an amazing history that we have here. You know, tragic in many ways, but also uplifting as well. And so they literally have it right here. Okay. Explain how that impacts the students.
Absolutely. So many students wrote about this in their college essays. and how this impacted them in terms of moving forward with history, moving to the future, being so excited about the future in their lives, how empowerment works in their local city where they attend school. So really being advocates of city government, being advocates for social justice, uplifting positive ways to share what comes forward when you are positive advocates within city council and city government. It's been amazing. We have others that are moving forward to college this fall that were part of this united effort, and they are just so excited. City of Manhattan Beach has been so wonderful and uplifting. And one more thing about children, we have youngsters that are part of this, and it's been amazing from preschool all the way up, that are out there asking questions. You know, what is this? How do I learn about this? How can I be involved? And it's just wonderful to see that.
Great, that's terrific. Councilmember Howorth, you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry I didn't warn you ahead of time, but I want to say it's so much more than the Juneteenth celebration. Although, I mean, missing from all this is you're an educator, if you can't tell, and I know all of you all know that, but she is an educator at the very first, at your core. You are an educator. And you started, what happened when your students came here? I mean, they were so eloquent, they were so smart, it was so amazing, but that started years before. How long ago? So you're at the high school, you are the faculty advisor for the Black Scholars Union, correct?
Correct.
And how long ago did you found that?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Back in 2011. It's been a while, like almost 15 years now. Yes, definitely 15 years.
And so I want to, but I really want to thank you for that, because I think that, you know, has ripple effects, and that is, you know, we're seeing that today, and of course my colleagues, but you're very, very special. We're so grateful that you're part of our community.
I just wanted to add that, because what Amy said is so important when we foster a sense of belonging, and to have my own sons who are also here, Carter and Dylan, to be part of this effort as seniors this fall, getting ready to go off to college themselves in a year. It's just so impactful, full 360, and thank you so much for this honor.
Thank you so much. So there's your certificate of recognition and a pin, city pin as well. And why don't we just gather for our photo? Oh, yeah, oh, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry. And Kathy Graves with the school district, Manhattan Beach Unified School District. Come on. You're part of all this.
Here, you guys get on either side. Yeah.
So nice.
Get up here, Kathy. I think it's resting. That's okay. I know, it's okay. It's not about you. I know.
Thank you.
Terrific. We'll see you on Sunday.
Yes, Sunday afternoon.
What time?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Made a difference.
Good to see you.
Thank you all. And now you heard all that wonderful music as you were coming in. And that is your very own Mira Costa High School Orchestra. And we have them here tonight because they want to talk about their acceptance to perform at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. So if Mr. Park, the orchestra director, could come. And why don't all the students come on down too? All the musicians. There we go. Mr. Park, good. Hello, how you all doing? Why don't we have some come over here? Mr. Park, you be in the middle. How you doing? Good. Thanks for coming tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, Mr. Park, well, if you can go ahead and give us the details of how how the orchestra got here, and then what you had to do in order to be able to achieve the honor of playing at Walt Disney Music Hall.
Okay, so to start off with, it's an application process. There's an artistic application as well as a business application. It's a real professional role. But the point being is that such an iconic concert hall like Disney Concert, as well as just the music center and the LA Phil that's affiliated with that concert hall, the fact that they will let a high school orchestra take over their venue to put their reputation and their name on the line. So it is, in fact, a very huge deal. Now, it's not our first time having performed there, but I don't take for granted the fact that we were invited back. It's a huge signal of the importance of arts and arts education in our community of Manhattan Beach. It's a huge signal of the importance that the arts have in education and the daily fabric and experience of our students and how they grow and how they really mature and benefit. Additionally, we have a couple students who prepared a little bit of more information about our upcoming concert. So first off, we have a rising senior here to my left. We have Micah Chu.
Hi guys, I'm Micah, and I'm a violinist in Mira Costa's Symphony and Chamber Orchestras. And real quick, on behalf of our orchestras, thank you so much to the City Council for our recognition. Now, before, we have performed, as Park said, at the Walt Disney Concert Hall before, as well as other venues such as Central Europe and many more. However, that does not make our upcoming performance any less special. If anything, it makes it more special, the fact that we got re-invited, also as Park said. And earlier this year, we had the great opportunity of getting to see the LA Phil rehearse at Walt Disney. And there, watching the professionals rehearse their repertoire, we got to see many things that we do in person, what Park teaches us every day, which is how to interpret, how to listen, and how to perform and serve our music collectively rather than individually. And to quote Mr. Park, orchestra is all about you and nothing about you. Now, Charlotte will explain the details.
Hi guys, my name is Charlotte. I'm also a rising senior, and like Micah, I'm a violinist in Mira Costa's Symphony and Chamber Orchestra. And I would just like to say, being able to perform at Walt Disney Hall is just a crowning achievement. And I think it's a real testament to the hours and hours we as students put in, but not only us students, our director, our families, our friends, what we all put in to make this wonderful experience just something tangible, something shareable to our community. And I think something so special about this performance is the fact that our director, Mr. Park, actually invited back a lot of previous Mira Costa Orchestra alums. And I think that just goes to show just how strong our community in orchestra is, how stable our connections remain. Even after 2, 3, 10, 20 years, we're still able to invite back our Mira Costa alums. And I would just like to say, on a personal note, I am so excited for my friends and my family to be there. I'm so excited to see all of you guys there. And I think this experience is just so wonderful, so memorable to be able to share. And I feel like through all of your guys' support, through my family's support, through our friends' support, I think this just really boosts the necessary importance we need to put on music, especially in today's society. So I would like to encourage all of you, if you are interested, on our Mira Costa website, we do have tickets available for purchase. It's on the 25th at 8 p.m. We also have flyers outside, so if you guys want to grab one on your way out, that'd be really cool. And I hope we all see you there on the 25th at 8. Thank you so much.
If you go to the traditions of orchestra in Europe, every little town, major or small, they have their own orchestra, professional level, amateur level. And, we do have orchestras and community groups here in the South Bay. Here in Manhattan Beach, we don't have a Manhattan Beach Symphony. But in the meantime, we have Mira Costa orchestras that work so hard and prepare high-level, professional-level repertoire. So please come on out and support your Manhattan Beach Orchestra, Mira Costa High School, next Thursday, June 25th, Walt Disney Concert Hall, 8 p.m. Thank you.
thank you all very much. Here's the certificate of recognition for all your hard work. We really appreciate you coming by. And council, if we'll line up behind them.
I have a city pin.
Oh, and city pin. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
That's what they say.
Model UN? Are you model UN? No, you speak very well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let's hear it for NBUSD. Come on now.
You look like your dad. I recognize it.
So move on. So item number E, approval of agenda, waiver of full reading of ordinances. So do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor?
Yep. Motion to approve?
It would, unless the council member might like to pull
Oh,
on.
yeah. Is there anyone here who'd like to pull an item?
I would, Your Honor. I'd like to pull number 12, item number 12.
Unless there's any other items that council members like to pull, I will move to adopt the agenda as is, except for item number 12, to be heard separately.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have a motion to accept by Councilmember Lesser, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Tarnay.
A little lag time. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. So we move on to item F, which is City Council and Community Organization announcements of upcoming events. You have 1 minute.
Hello, Cassandra Sargent with Manhattan Beach Library. I'm here to, 2 weeks ago, I talked about our summer reading kickoff, so I'm just back here to continue to promote the summer discovery program. For every 6 books or activities you complete, you earn a book and a prize. This is for kids, teens, and adults. We already signed up all of Councilman Sherillian's family on Friday, so if it's popular for them, it should be popular for everyone. Continue to keep reading. There were just too many events that we have going on to pick one to start listing, so if you jump to our website, we have music programs, we have performer programs, we have a ton of fun adult programs coming up, so there's something for everybody to do. Yeah, just jump on our website and join us this summer. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, city officials, Jeff, hey, Bobby with WM, Organics and Recycling Outreach and Educator. Just a couple quick reminders. There will be no break in service for Juneteenth. We're all going to be servicing. Apparently the executives get it off, but we don't. And then Saturday, this coming Saturday at Mira Costa High School is our second paper shred of the year, 9 to 11. Every member, every resident, every business owner can come and bring up to 3 banker boxes for safe recycled paper, and we will recycle it. That's all I got. Wishing you guys all God's blessings.
Thank you.
Evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. Adam Feinstein with the Planning Division here. So the city hosted 2 successful Project Pulse design workshops at the end of last month. The workshops collected community input that will help inform the conceptual designs for future developments at projects at Parking Lot 3 and 400 Manhattan Beach Boulevard. Over 70 community members attended the events and provided feedback at 5 different activity stations, including using 3-dimensional blocks to create designs for the sites that identified preferred uses. In combination with what staff has heard over the last few months, or the last year almost, with the Project Pulse public engagement process, the city's design consultant will utilize that information along with the information collected at the design workshops to create conceptual designs for projects at both properties. These designs will be presented to the public for feedback at a conceptual design preview open house on Wednesday, July 15th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Jocelyn Center. This will be the final opportunity for the community to provide input prior to conceptual design packages being prepared for City Council consideration later this summer. Again, the open house is scheduled for Wednesday, July 15th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Jocelyn Center, and we hope to see you guys there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Adam.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm your Senior Cultural Arts Supervisor, Eric Brinkman. Just wanted to take a moment this evening and share a few more details about our Juneteenth celebration this coming Sunday, June 21st. The event is starting at 2 o'clock, goes until 7 o'clock. It's going to be at Pollywog Park. Juneteenth is a time to reflect on our nation's history, honor the resilience, contributions and achievements of Black Americans, and celebrate freedom, culture, and community. This year's celebration will feature live music, cultural performances, food vendors, community organizations, a vendor village, family-friendly activities, and opportunities for learning and fellowship. We're especially honored to welcome Los Angeles County Supervisor Holly Mitchell, who will join us to recognize the significance of the occasion. The program will also include a presentation by Dr. Anthony Lee from MB United, who will speak about the history and legacy of Bruce's Beach, and introduce artist April Banks, who was selected to create the city's upcoming Bruce's Beach public artwork. The evening will conclude with a performance by our headlining musical guest, West Complex. So we invite everybody to join us as we celebrate freedom, reflect on our shared history, and continue building a more inclusive and connected community. A special thanks to Michael Jenkins, Dr. Anthony Lee, and Janet Brody Allen, who we just recognized, and students from the Black Scholar Union at Mira Costa High School for their invaluable input in shaping and guiding this celebration. For more information, you can visit the city's website or follow Parks and Recreation on social media. Hope to see everybody there. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Anybody else? Anybody online?
No requests on Zoom.
Okay, great. So moving on to G, public comments, 3 minutes per person. Just be reminded that if you speak about something here at this time, you cannot speak about it when it's pulled up as an agenda item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I am here representing MB Safe, Manhattan Beach Safe Alternatives for Everyone, and I wanted to bring about an awareness. On behalf of MB Safe, Manhattan Beach Safe Alternatives for Everyone, we wanted to make a comment that there are funding cuts that have already put in place, and there are funding cuts that are up and coming regarding all services for homelessness and housing. And one of those that really is important to us is closing all safe parking areas as of July 1st, 2026. That's in 2 weeks. I want to mention that we notoriously have all of these safe parking areas fully booked, especially in the summer. So therefore, all these cars will be forced onto the streets of surrounding areas, and individuals and families will be seeking cooler and safer places to park. So nothing to alarm anybody, but we are asking the City Council to go to your colleagues in the supervisor's office in any surrounding cities. Please urge them to curb this. We need safe parking funded. It's needed for the safety and well-being of individuals who live in their cars that we just don't have housing placements for, and most especially children. We have at least 15 families that are living in their cars in these safe and secure areas that provide them, some security while they're waiting. They're on the list, they're doing their due diligence, but there's just nothing available for them now. And to kick them out right now would really be almost inhumane. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. After that, this one's a little bit more trivial. Item number 9 on the consent calendar. I took a look at the contract there. This is with GeoSyncTech. And I understand why it's on the consent calendar because this is year 11 with that contract. That contract is worth $600,000 right now. So the question I have is, for the City Council, if you guys looked into it, great. But if it's been 11 years at $600,000 a year, and the question I would have is, do we think it's going to go on for another 10 years or 5 years? If so, can we save some money by bringing some of this internal? I just think it's worth a discussion if you haven't had the discussion, if you're not fully aware of that. But it just makes sense to kind of take another look at that if we think it's going to take another 10 years of management. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in chambers? How about online? And I'll get to my council colleagues to see if they have anything as well.
No requests on Zoom.
Okay. Colleagues, any announcements?
Yeah. Now I have to find it. Kelly Stroman can't be here tonight, and she wanted me to make some comments about what's been going on downtown with the World Cup happening. So she says, you can report that everything is going very smoothly in downtown Manhattan Beach, and she's especially thankful to our police department and our public works department, who have been on the scene a lot and very responsive, extra trash, making sure things are safe down there, and just, there have been a lot of people. There's not like people, in the streets and things like that, but there's been extra people, and so she's just so grateful. She says there's been so much preparation leading up to this that she and the whole downtown business feel very, very taken care of. And she said the communication, where's Allie? Oh no, Allie of course isn't here. Okay. She said, but the communication is really, really great. They're getting, the people are responsive and they're getting great communication. They love having the banners and appreciate the marketing. Business has been really healthy and so far no unruly watch parties, just spirited fun. Everyone is having a lot of fun meeting and greeting the travelers. Several of the restaurant owners said to me, wow, this has been great. So I just wanted to give that report and to thank the police department and the public works department and our comms team, it's a lot of work going on behind the scenes and a lot of great soccer happening.
Thank you. It's actually a lot of fun seeing people discover Manhattan Beach for the first time. So, well done, residents. Any more comments? Anybody? Okay. So seeing none, we already went online. So moving on to item H, consent calendar. And I believe it was item 12 that was polled by Councilmember Sherillian, and item number 12 reads, consideration of a resolution approving a 5-year agreement with AdminSure for third-party administrative services in support of the self-insured workers. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Also approval of consent calendar.
Oh, my announcement for coffee with the mayor. Oh, I'm so sorry. Coffee with the mayor. Oh, who is that? Just like that. Of course they have. Well, in continuing some sort of tradition with coffee with the mayor, I will be on the east side at the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf in Manhattan Village, Thursday, July 9th at 9 a.m. And then on July 16th, Thursday, at Verve in Metlocks Plaza at 9 a.m. as well. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get this on a regular scheduled basis, but we just wanted to go ahead and get it started. So come on by. Be gentle. That's okay. You can bring up anything. Thank you so much. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, now public comments are closed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Did you want to have an approval of the consent calendar first before we go to the item that's pulled?
Yeah. Okay. So approval of the consent calendar with the exception of item number 12.
So moved.
So we have We have it moved by Councilmember Howorth and seconded by Councilmember Lesser. Call for the vote, please.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for your help. And Councilmember Shirley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pulled this item. I have some questions for the department. I really don't need a presentation, but I have some questions.
Good evening, Council. Lisa Jenkins, your Human Resources Director.
Good evening, and thank you for the report. Typically, anything with a large dollar item, I would pull off of consent to discuss. In this particular case, I pulled it. I had some questions because this item is going to be using reserves that we just transferred from during the budget that will go into effect July 1st, but it'll be using the reserves that we transferred over for expenditures. Is that correct?
Primarily, the transfer for the insurance fund was related to claims paid. So this is an administrative cost for the day-to-day administration of workers' compensation services.
Gotcha. I thought I saw it in the report that it said that, but maybe it was in the liability report. Maybe that's where it said, it mentioned.
And I'm sure my colleague, Director Brett Howard, will correct me if I'm not correct on that. But it is part of the insurance reserve fund, but from that fund includes these administrative services, other operating costs within risk management premiums. So this is our administration, and then there's actual workers' comp premiums, liability premiums, as well as all of our other city lines of insurance. So that's all part of the insurance fund. But what council considered as part of the transfer to the insurance fund specifically was more related to the claims paid or litigation expense line item, and that's how claims are paid out from the fund, and that's the actual day-to-day costs of the claim rather than the claims administration.
Great. And then the third-party administrator, the TPA, is AdminSure, and we've had them since 2015, correct? And they're the incumbent right now. And I know they're a special service, but going on year 11 of working with them and entering into another 5 years, was there an opportunity to maybe do an RFP to see what's out there? We just recently did it with our auditors that we had in finance for 10 years, and they pointed out a few things. So is it an opportunity that we're just kind of using them because they're the incumbent and they know our practices, or?
Thank you for the question. So there's a few factors at play, and this TPA, third-party administrator, AdminSure, has actually been with the city for over 25 years. 2015 is when the city did go out to RFP. But one thing to note is with our insurance programs, we're part of a risk pool. That pool is PRISM. And what that stands for is in the report, Public Risk Innovation Solutions and Management. So PRISM, as our risk pool, helps us evaluate the options out there for third-party administrative services for workers' comp as well as general liability. They do a lot of that vetting and comparison for us, and they look across these different vendors to look at services provided, relative costs of those services, satisfaction with those particular TPAs based on their experience with others who are part of the insurance pool. And I'm not sure if this detail made it into the report, but most recently they vetted available workers' comp providers administrators in 2022, and they recommended and vetted 4. Of those 4, AdminSure was the one that was the lowest cost below baseline. So it isn't an RFP per se, but it is one mechanism to evaluate if we're getting the best services and the most competitive costs. And then, as you can see in the report, additionally, we did our own comparison with other jurisdictions that have public safety to do another level of comparison essentially with other agencies who are using AdminSure. And we did do some comparison with agencies outside of AdminSure, and what we found is that it was difficult to do a apples to apples comparison because each provider structures their services a little bit differently. But I completely understand the question given the tenure we've been with them. We did due diligence to ensure that the costs were competitive, and we did evaluate the fact that AdminSure has been providing these services. Our employees who have workers' compensation claims have established relationships with the day-to-day administrator for the claims. It's a large volume of claims, as you can see in the report. So there is a sort of unseen cost of transferring over these services to a new administrator. There's a lot that goes along with that, and when we've been generally pleased with the services that they provide, and we do hear from other colleagues and other agencies about relative satisfaction with other providers, as well as the fact that we do have PRISM assisting us with that evaluation, we felt that it was appropriately vetted recommendation to bring forward this 5-year agreement.
I appreciate that. One last question. Our TPA, AdminSure, when was the last time they were independently audited to make sure they're using best practices managing this program?
Yes, so good question. And another benefit of the risk pool is that they do audit both programs. And our risk manager, Brisa Morales, who's here with me, will correct me on the frequency. I believe that it's every 2 years that they do those audits of the workers' comp as well as the general liability program.
Great, thank you. No other questions.
Colleagues, anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing none, public comments?
Good evening once again. Thank you for pulling this. I looked at the contract real quickly, and this is just a question that I had is that, and I'm not an expert in this area, but the scope seems like it's, administration, and so we may have high or low volumes, right? It could go up or down. I know we have experience with it, but I looked at who carries the risk? It goes up and down. We have a fixed schedule, a fixed amount per month. So if it surges, we pay the same. If it drops, we pay the same. And if it really was to surge, or drop real low, the only thing I saw in there is that we have a 5-day notice that we can cancel a contract with. So I would just be interested, to know, what is our track record here? What is our risk, in this and from a financial standpoint?
Thank you. Any other comments in chambers? No? Any comments online?
No requests on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll close public comments and let's have a discussion. Anybody want to discuss anything? No? Okay, so we will call for the vote.
Oh, you don't have to make a motion? Oh, I made a motion to approve the item.
Okay, so a motion's been made by...
I appreciate the questions and I appreciate that. That was good.
By Councilmember Howorth and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Carney. We have to call for the vote, please.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. So we move on to public hearings. So item number 15 is conduct a public hearing and consider a resolution providing for the annual levy and collection of street lighting and landscaping district maintenance assessments for fiscal year 2026 to 2027. And we have our finance director, Brett Hauer.
Good evening, Libby Bretthauer, Finance Director, and I would like to introduce our Financial Controller, Julie Bondarchuk, who will be giving a brief presentation tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin and members of the City Council. Tonight, we are asking City Council to consider Resolution Number 26-0057, providing for the annual levy and collection of the street lighting and landscaping district maintenance assessments for fiscal year 26-27. On April 21st, the city initiated proceedings for the levy and collections of the street lighting assessments by adopting Resolution 26-0019, ordering the engineer's report, including the plans, specifications, and cost estimates for the annual assessments for fiscal year 26-27. This was followed by the adoption of two resolutions on May 19th, Resolution 26-0039, approving the engineer's report, and Resolutions 26-0040, which declared the City Council's intention to provide the annual levy and collection of assessments and set the public hearing for tonight on June 16th. Notification of tonight's public hearing was advertised in the Beach Reporter on June 4th. With the approval of Resolution 26-0087, the assessments will be levied for fiscal year 2027. Assessments are based solely on land use and have not changed since 1996, resulting in a projected deficit in the streetlight fund of $270,687 for fiscal year 2027. Any increase in assessments would require a Prop 218 vote, and tonight's public hearing is the last City Council action before the assessments are submitted to the county for inclusion on the property tax bills. This concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
See Councilmember Lesser.
I have one. Thank you, Julie, for your presentation. So just to confirm, this fee was last set 30 years ago.
Correct.
Costs have risen since then a bit, right?
Yes, I would assume.
So if council were to entertain a proposal to raise those fees, it would be through a Proposition 218 process, correct?
That is correct.
Can you describe what that process would entail, particularly as the amount that this costs that we take out of our general fund increases?
Of course. So the Proposition 218 ballot process is a special mail-in ballot process. It starts with a public a protest, majority protest. If no majority protest is received, we do go to the second phase, which is a special mail-in ballot process. The city has to receive a majority vote yes for a fee increase to be effective. It's very similar to the storm drain ballot process that we did in 2024. The only difference is that the street lighting ballots are weighted based on the assessed value. So for example, if your assessment was $100 and my assessment was $50, calculated by the assessment engineer, then your vote would be worth 50% more than mine.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question. Since 1996, has there ever been a surplus in this fund?
I have to look back, but I do not believe so.
Okay. All right. Council, any more questions? No? Okay. Open this up for public comment. No? Stefan has left the building. Okay, so we'll, how about on Zoom?
No requests on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll close public comment. Colleagues, any discussion?
Yeah, I pressed.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
So-
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Councilmember Howorth.
And I see there's been a motion made, which is, I'll be supporting that. Like everything else, the Prop 218 process, which does provide, I would say, security for residents, or, gives power to residents, et cetera, and I very much want to follow that. But it is so important for people to understand that the costs this year for the street lighting total were $377,000, of which $271,000 are coming from the general fund. So it is upside down, by 2/3. And so, and over time, it's been almost $4 million. And so I'm not saying we should rush out and go for a Prop 218. I know that we've got other things on the horizon, but it's all part, a few years ago, we dealt with stormwater, right? And it's part of fixing what has been made obsolete by time and, the process. So again, not talking about doing it tonight, but I want to be on everybody's radar that it's not, if we should go for this, it's not just to bring in more money. It's that it literally is a 30-year-old rate, which is obsolete. So I just wanted to throw that out here. There.
Thank you.
It's been thrown.
Anybody else? All right, so we have a motion to accept from Councilmember Sherillian. Would you like to?
Yes,
make the motion?
absolutely. Introduce an ordinance amending section, oh, sorry.
Adopt.
That's the wrong one. I was already turning to the next one.
Councilmember, is your mic on?
My microphone is not on, thank goodness. Okay. Let's see. Consider resolution, annual levy, street lighting, landscape district maintenance assessment for fiscal year 26-27. Adopt resolution 26-57, providing for the annual levy and collection of fiscal year 26-27 maintenance assessments.
Okay, and I have seconded that motion. So call for the vote, please.
Motion passes 5-0.
Terrific. Thank you. Moving on to item 16. Is conduct a public hearing and consider a resolution regarding the annual storm drain service fee for fiscal year 26-27. And
Good
hello
evening,
again.
Mayor Franklin and members of the City Council.
Yes, Julie.
Tonight's public hearing is for consideration of resolution number 26-0057 for the collection of storm drain assessment fees. When updated for impervious area, the proposed storm drain assessments are estimated at $2.4 million for fiscal year 2027. If the 3% CPI is approved tonight, it will add additional $27.5 thousand to the proposed assessment. Notification of tonight's public hearing was advertised in the Beach Reporter on May 28th and June 4th. At this time, we recommend you open a public hearing for the proposed assessments, and assuming there is not a majority protest, staff recommends that City Council adopt resolution number 26-0056, ordering the storm drain fees to be collected. If the resolution is approved, staff will submit the data to the county for inclusion on the property tax bills once the final parcel data is released by LA County, and that's typically in the mid-July. This concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Questions, colleagues? Seeing none. Questions from our public comments, please?
Stefan here once again. Great numbers, short presentation, I like that. What I didn't hear was, does the additional amount that was going to be collected, does that cover our costs for this upcoming year? Are we going to be a shortfall, or how does that sit overall?
Okay. Would you be able to answer that?
Currently, we don't have a shortfall for this year. We don't. I think there was one in the previous year where we did have a project that was unbudgeted, and we transferred money from the general fund to the storm drain fund for that. This year, we are good.
Okay, thank you. So we have online. Any public comments online?
No requests on Zoom.
No? Okay, so we're going to close public comments. Any discussions? Looks like we're ready to vote. So the motion to accept was moved by Councilmember Sherillian, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Tarnay.
My motion is to adopt resolution 26-56.
Okay, call for the vote. Oops. Yep. Whoop. Something happened there.
This is vote early and often, Chicago, early.
There we go.
Okay.
Terrific.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to item number 17, conduct a public hearing and, so council, how are we doing? Everybody okay? So conduct a public hearing in consideration of resolutions adopting the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. And we have Mr. Page.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This evening, for your consideration, we have the draft 2025 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. So these plans are required by state law and must be updated every 5 years. These current iterations were developed in partnership with West Basin Municipal Water District. And tonight we have Michael Steele with Water Systems Consulting to present the plans.
Thanks, Jeff. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight with you. My name, as Jeff said, is Michael Steele. I work for Water Systems Consulting, or WSC, and we supported your staff with the development of your 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. You'll see UWMP as well. That's what that stands for. It's Urban Water Management Plan. And then I wanted to acknowledge the work of your great staff, without whom we couldn't have done this, as well as the partnership and collaboration that with West Basin Municipal Water District as well. Okay, and so tonight I'll start by giving an overview of just some background about the Urban Water Management Plan process, and then I'll review the findings of the draft plan. And then we'll also discuss the Water Shortage Contingency Plan, and then I'll turn it back over to Mr. Page for recommendations. Okay, so why are we here? What are we doing? What is the purpose of an urban water management plan? Water suppliers are required by California Water Code to update their urban water management plan every 5 years. And these plans provide an overview of projected future water demands. They evaluate the reliability of water supplies, and then they provide a framework for drought response if one is to occur in the future. And the development of these plans is also an opportunity to coordinate with other water suppliers and also to seek input from stakeholders as well as from the public. And so an urban water management plan has several requirements that must be followed that are all in California Water Code. And so some of those include evaluating future demands and their reliability of water supplies to meet those future demands. And then there are certain different conditions under which you have to evaluate those, including normal conditions, a single dry year, and then a multi-year drought. And then another section of the Urban Water Management Plan highlights the efforts that the city has taken towards conserving water in partnership with West Basin Municipal Water District. And then also the Water Shortage Contingency Plan is a required component of the Urban Water Management Plan. And so the 2025 plan is an update to your 2020 plan. And one of the first things that we do when we're developing the plan is we review historical data and analyze past trends to develop future projections. And as we all know, there's uncertainty inherent anytime we are trying to project into the future. And so the way that we try to deal with that is we took a scenario-based approach where we have to make different assumptions around things such as future rates of population changes, as well as the impact of potential future regulations, those that are currently in place as well as ones that may come into play in the future, and also ongoing conservation as, for example, water efficient fixtures are incorporated into a redevelopment of an existing home. So what we looked at was a range of those different scenarios, those different assumptions, and then the Urban Water Management Plan requires us to essentially choose one of those futures to put into the plan. And so we'll review some of what that shows tonight. And then I did want to point out that those future population projections, which are one component of that, were aligned with the Development Impact Fee Nexus study, which the city approved a few months ago. Okay, now we'll review some of the preliminary findings. So on this graph, you can see an overview of past demands on the left-hand side to the left of that line. These are your water demands separated by customer class. And then to the right of that line is those projections carried out 25 years into the future, which is the planning horizon for this urban water management plan. And so you can see how there's a slight increase up until about 2040, and then that shifts to a slight decrease after that. And then these demands, these water demands that the city has, are met with multiple different water supplies. So the city has 3 different water supplies. Historically, the largest of those is imported water, and that is provided by West Basin Municipal Water District. And that's surface water that's imported and treated by the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. And then the city also pumps groundwater through its groundwater wells. And then the city also meets or uses recycled water to meet its non-potable demands, such as for irrigating landscaping in municipal public spaces. And so then in that graph, you can see the makeup of the city's water supplies over the past 5 years. And on our next slide, we'll zoom out a little bit farther and look back 25 years and look forward 25 years on the left and the right of that line, respectively. And so you can see that looking to the future, groundwater is anticipated to play a larger role in meeting the city's water demands. And that is a result of the investments that the city has made in its groundwater infrastructure over the past several years. And doing so helps to reduce reliance on costly imported water, which also helps to increase the resiliency of water supplies regionally. And so a reliability analysis was conducted, which is summarized in the slide. The line at the top is total demand, and then those bars stacked underneath it are the supplies anticipated to meet those demands at the different time periods throughout the planning horizon. And as you can see, demands are anticipated to meet supplies under the normal year supply scenario, as well as in a single dry year and in a multi-year drought. And so obviously with imported water being one of the major components of meeting those demands, the reliability of imported water is key for the city to be able to meet its demands. And so the good news is that Metropolitan Water District also does a urban water management plan, and in their urban water management plan, they anticipate being able to meet all of the demands on their imported water supplies. And they anticipate high reliability of those supplies due to their integrated use of their Colorado River supplies, their state water project supplies, as well as their storage and transfer programs, which they've invested heavily in over the past several decades. And so as a result of those supply investments that Metropolitan has made, as well as the city's investment in its diversified supply, there are no anticipated shortages anticipated over the planning horizon. And so in this next graph shows the drought risk assessment, which looks at if a drought were to occur starting over the next 5 years, starting now, could the city meet anticipated demands? And similarly to the reliability assessment in the previous slide, the city anticipates being able to meet all of its demands, and supplies are considered to be unconstrained. Okay, and then a quick overview of the water shortage contingency plan, which I noted is a component of the urban water management plan. And so really this is a framework for the city to react in the case of drought conditions. And so it outlines a framework. There are different stages of water shortage levels, and each of those have a targeted reduction in water use and associated actions that correspond with that. And so in the case that the city needs to implement different shortage levels in the future, then those actions are there ready. Those include communication, they include outreach, as well as other methods to help reduce those demands. And then I'll note that there were no major updates from the adopted 2020 water shortage contingency plan. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Page.
Thanks, Michael. So with that, staff is recommending that City Council conduct a public hearing and to adopt resolutions number 26-0064 and 26-0065, approving the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan.
Great, thank you.
Happy to take any questions.
Councilmember Howorth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do have questions, either for you or Michael. On slide 8, which is water demand projections, and I know in the beginning, I think you said, or somebody said, that we were required to choose one kind of metric. We don't have to prove that we have water based on all the metrics, right? So we could project it on, yes, thank you. Could you say, am I understanding it correctly? We didn't have to, when we were figuring out our numbers, we only had to use one of them. And can you tell what the 3 were again?
Yes, that's correct. We looked at a range, an envelope of different scenarios and assumptions to look at what the potential multiple different scenarios could be. But then for the urban water management plan, there are specific tables that have to be filled out and submitted to the Department of Water Resources. And so you have to choose a specific normal projection.
Okay, so it's a specific normal projection. So on that slide 8, when it talks about water demand, and it talks about that there's different categories of usage, and one is multifamily, it seems that, you know, we're getting more multifamily units in our community, so I don't see how that use wouldn't rise. So I don't know who wants to address that, but, or maybe I don't know, you know, maybe the chart's not that granular, but as a average person, I would think, oh, if we're getting 300 or more, as we are, more units, wouldn't that increase the use? So who wants to answer? Bueller? Bueller?
I would say that we have a lot of water conservation efforts and rules that we have to meet. So at the same time, even though population is increasing, we're going to conceivably be decreasing our, so it should be. And you can see it rise out of 2025 slightly and kind of leveling off.
Okay.
So I think that's a combination of the balance of the two.
So you were taking into serious conservation. It wasn't that you didn't think this would be an impact, but our conservation efforts should ameliorate that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Lesser.
So just to follow up on that point, is there a projected total amount of consumption that would be attributable to multifamily residences that are projected to be built? At a minimum, we already have a projected number of units that are going to be added online. Even with conservation figures, do we have an estimate of how much additional water will be required to service them, even with conservation measures?
Yeah, the state has given us some requirements to bring down indoor water usage to certain levels, say 55 gallons per day per capita by 2030, down to, I don't have them exactly memorized, but 45 down to by 2035, and so on. So we can kind of make projections based off of what we're required to.
Okay. If council were interested in better understanding the potential demand for the additional units, staff could provide that. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Next question I have has to do with slide number 10. In terms of our water supply, it's been widely supported that our Colorado River is increasingly depleted, and obviously the states that are in the negotiating group have not reached a consensus, and the federal government may need to impose restrictions. Help us understand how that might factor into the Metropolitan Water District's supply in imported water sources, even though it was mentioned that it was thought that that's not going to be terribly detrimental in the next 5-year period.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The Metropolitan's assumptions are based on the best known available information at this time. And so any potential future impacts that are unknown aren't included in that, although they do, or they aren't included quantitatively, although they do mention that that is a future risk of reduced Colorado River supplies as a result of the negotiations that are ongoing. The urban water management plans are updated every 5 years, and so if things change before that next planning period, then they would be incorporated at that time. And so they use the best available information right now and based their reliability determinations based on that.
Got it. And if council were interested in what percentage of water Manhattan Beach gets from the Colorado River, that's a number that we could get if we asked, correct? Through the Metropolitan Water District. And I recognize you're preparing the plan, not necessarily knowing the exact combination of water sources we have now.
Metropolitan prepares their urban water management plan, looking at all of their supplies and their storage and transfer programs, and then can they meet demands? And so I don't know if, I'm not aware of them being as granular as to assign a specific source to a specific member agency or retailer, such as the city.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. Mayor Pro Tem Tarnay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to put our utilities manager on the spot for a second here, but I know you've been attending some of the same events that I've gone to where we've talked about water shortages as Councilmember Lesser just brought up, and we know that we're at a 40-year drought along the Colorado River, and that the system is completely stressed out. So I really appreciate the work that's I know that we're doing this because it's mandated, but I also want to recognize that this is proactive work that has meaningful impacts now. Jeff, can you share with us some of the ways that locally, cities, and regionally we're working to increase groundwater supply, recycle water supply, just to reassure our residents that this isn't just a plan, but that there are active projects ongoing that are going to help us meet demands?
Yeah, of course. So for Manhattan Beach, we have invested prudently in a local groundwater treatment facility so that we can maximize our groundwater usage, and I think that's a big part of that to bring as much localized water in usage as we can. Recycled water is also a big part of that. Along with conservation efforts that the city will be putting forth, and we're all in this together. So regionally, we all have the same thoughts and ideas and needs. So we're working in partnership with others to make sure that we're developing a good water portfolio of water investments and to cover all of our needs.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question back on slide 8. I think very popular slide. And you spoke a little bit about steps. What I'm concerned about are steps towards conservation, okay? Because that can make a big impact. If you don't have as big a demand coming, you don't have to pump as much or use as much. So how is the city proactively going out to the residents and helping them with that in terms of, we heard a little bit about that with low flow toilets, with, checking your sprinkler systems, with, balancing, the right need of what you need to water to replace, grass with drought resistant landscaping. So what are some of the things that we're doing to help, reduce demand?
Well, we get the message out there to communicate with the community, to talk about our partnership with West Basin and what they have going on with turf replacement. There's the rain barrel program. There is water conservation devices, rebates, and all those things. So we get the messages out from time to time, and those messages are going to increase and become more intensive as we're working to meet the new regulatory requirements that we have.
Okay, and I'm sure with our building codes, it does call for low water use type of what do you want to call them, devices in the house.
Yes, water saving devices, faucets, and aerators and things like that.
Okay.
And toilets, yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Sherrilling.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to echo a few of my colleagues indicated, which was just making sure our residents know that we're in a good place when it comes to water and tracking this. And yes, we do this every 5 years. It's best practice. We do this to make sure we're falling in line, and we can be able to get we can get grants, and we can get other things from the water district. But and I think Jeff Page, you mentioned it, that the local groundwater we pump ourselves, I think we do more than our share. So if something was to happen, and we also have Peck Reservoir. And when that came online, I think there was a water tasting somewhere when we turned these switches on, and we're still all here. So that was about a year ago.
Moment, yeah.
So we took the first sips out of that. So I appreciate it. I have no comments, but this is glad we're being proactive, and I know you guys are looking at the gauge at all times, and I know there's an El Nino being tracked as well. I'm sure you both know that. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. I'd like to open up public comments.
Stefan Kumpe here, once again, representing our public. I just want to make sure I got it straight. I heard that we're going to try to reduce our consumption level, from 55 per person to 45, some number. I forget exactly what it is. Maybe you can clarify it. I just want to understand, is that just going to be done through communications and encouraging people and rebates, or is there other enforcement structures that are going to take place to make sure that happens? I'd like to get that clarified, please.
Thank you. Anybody else in council chambers? No, how about online?
No requests on Zoom.
Okay. So I'll close public comments and comments, please. No comments? Okay. So
We're like, well, I was going to say, could we get an answer?
Yeah, for Stefan.
I think that Mr. Page wants to, have an answer or something correct.
Yeah, so when conservation efforts first started back in the day, they were really focused on outdoor consumption and plants and lawns in particular. That's why we have the turf replacement program. So, but now a lot of effort has been spent in that area, but now we're focusing on indoor water usage. And so it's been about over a year now that we partnered with the Department of Water Resources on their program to place these devices on the water meters that could segregate indoor water usage versus external water usage. And it does it, somehow it picks up the vibrations. There's different frequencies that it picks up when it is going indoor. I can't explain it all, but so we have 100 of those out there in the city, and we're gathering the data, and so we can follow up with some more information on that later as far as what we find as far as the indoor usage in gallons per day per capita. I don't know if this hopefully answers the question. And we can expand that later if we want to.
I think just if I understand Stefan's question, I think more just in line of like the kinds of incentives or water restrictions that are going on. We currently do not have any water restrictions, right? We currently, as a city, don't have. I know that when we've had drought spells, we've had restrictions on when you can water your lawn, but currently we don't have anything like that ongoing, correct?
Well, in 2021, we enacted the stage 1 water shortage, and then in 2022, upon the guidance of the state, we enacted the stage 2 water shortage, in which we are still in that. So we never made the declaration that we were going to come out of stage 2.
Can you share what those restrictions are at the stage 2?
Yeah. So here's a kind of the truncated version. No landscape watering with potable water unless a timed sprinkler system is installed. Watering is done with a handheld device. Landscape watering with potable water shall be limited to 2 times per week for not more than 15 minutes per watering zone from 6 p.m. on Wednesday and 9 a.m. the following Thursday, and 6 p.m. on Saturday and 9 a.m. on the following Sunday. So that's
Thank
what's in
you.
place right now.
So I had a further question. I mean, I've lived here, in the house that we're in now, I think 36 years. Not once has anybody from the city come by and said, you need to, let's talk about how we can reduce water, consumption. Is there any, assertive, outgoing effort, to go literally door to door or lawn to lawn? And
We don't have that, but we have the advanced metering infrastructure that we placed a few years back, and it monitors water use. And if it notices there's a problem, say something is running for a long, long time, it'll get flagged in our system, and then we reach out to the customer. So we do door hangers, and then we follow up with a phone call or a visit to the premise, and then we actually help them determine what it could be.
so we actually experienced that. We had a large, increase in our water, and realized that we got a new server, and the landscape controller is on the internet, and when we switched out, it just lost all that prior programming. So for about a period of about 2 months, we saw the water usage go up. But I'm just wondering, so in the for new homes, how far can we go to, requesting that they consider, drought tolerant vegetation and everything? I mean, is there some, because that's a point of contact with the homeowner or the developer and the homeowner, to try to get serious about, limiting the amount of grass and water consuming vegetation.
Right, yeah. I guess that's something that we could look into our code itself, and maybe that's something that we would think of to enact. And us as staff, we can come up with recommendations that we find out there that might be able to be implemented.
Okay. All right, great. Anybody else? Questions?
I see that there
Councilmember
is a
Leslie.
motion that's being made, and I just, in advance of the motion, I would be interested in the projected increased water utilization because of multi-tenant projects, even with conservation measures, which are mandated by state building code requirements, of course, for new units. But I'd like to know that. And then I also would welcome information about the collection of water that goes into the metropolitan water mix because of all that we're reading about the Colorado River Basin and its depletion of water supplies. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that'd be, I just support all of that, it's direction, not emotion, but yeah, and I do think that while conservation may balance out some of the increased usage, it's important for us as a city to know the impact that those multifamily projects will have.
Thank
you. Okay, so we have a motion moved by Councilmember Sherillian, which is?
Yes, thank you.
Seconded by, I'm sorry, it's seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Tarnay.
Thank you, Mayor. Adopting Resolution 26-64 and 26-65.
Okay. Ask for the vote, please.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay. Not to ruin a world record, but does anybody want to take a break? Because
I'm good.
Good.
we're all good?
Good.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So let's move on to item number 18, conduct a public hearing and consider introducing an ordinance amending sections of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code and the Manhattan Beach Local Coastal Program, et cetera.
Right, well, good evening, Mayor Franklin and members of the City Council. Masa Alkayer, Community Development Director. Maricela Guillen, Associate Planner Maricela Guillen, will be providing tonight's staff report. But before she gets started, I just want to make a couple comments. This is a ordinance that is, I would characterize as a tune-up ordinance. It comes out of our sixth cycle housing element, which is our current housing element. The housing element includes implementation programs. These were policy decisions made that HCD reviewed and were committed to in our housing element. And I would characterize this batch as an omnibus action of various odds and ends that are minor policy amendments to our code. And the result of this would be a code that is compliant with existing state laws on the books. So with that in mind, here's the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin and members of City Council. Maricela Guillen, Associate Planner. Tonight we will be introducing an ordinance amending sections of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code and Manhattan Beach Local Coastal Program to implement programs outlined in the city's sixth cycle housing element and making a determination of exemption pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. So by a bit of background, in September of 2022, City Council adopted this sixth cycle housing element, and in July of 2023, the California Department of Housing Community Development, also referred to as HCD, certified the city's housing element. Implementation of the housing element programs is state mandated, and certain programs require code amendments to Title 10 or the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code, also known as MBMC, and the Manhattan Beach Local Coastal Program, also known as the MBLCP. In March 2023 and April of 2025, code amendments were adopted to implement various programs in the housing element. In February of 2026, a study session was conducted where the Planning Commission requested additional review and development standards for manufactured homes be considered, as well as more information on licensing and permitting requirements for supportive housing. This slide identifies all 5 programs that the proposed code amendments aim to address. Each of these 5 housing element programs, objectives, and associated proposed zoning amendments will be discussed in greater detail. Program 1 relates to accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. In order to comply with the program's objective, the ADU ordinance must comply with the latest state ADU law. After the city adopted the ADU ordinance in April of 2025, it was submitted to HCD for review. As proposed, ADU regulations have been updated to incorporate HCD's comments on the city's adopted ordinance. Development standards and procedures have also been updated to ensure consistency with recent state law requirements. The following sections have either been modified, added, or repealed to address Program 1. The next program, Program 17, relates to manufactured housing. This program's objective is to ensure manufactured housing is treated in the same manner as conventional single-family homes in line with state law. The proposed amendments would allow manufactured homes in all zoning districts that allow for single-family residential uses. We also added a mobile home park definition and updated zoning use charts to permit mobile home parks through a use permit in all residential zoning districts, which is consistent with state law requirements. After receiving Planning Commission feedback, additional research and review was conducted. The certificate of compatibility requirement and most of the architectural design criteria existing in the manufactured home section of the code does not apply currently to conventional single-family residences, so those were removed to comply with state law provisions. However, the Building and Safety Division ensures that manufactured homes are certified by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and building and safety permits are required for foundation work and all utility hookups. These sections were either added and repealed in order to satisfy this program. Program 23 relates to preserving housing capacity. The objective of this program is to preserve the city's housing stock by preventing the loss of housing units. This amendment eliminates the current allowance for adjoining parcels under common ownership to be developed as a single site when one parcel contains a detached accessory structure. The following sections were modified in order to comply with these program requirements. Program 25 relates to reasonable accommodation. This program's objective is to streamline reasonable accommodation procedures in compliance with the Fair Housing Act. As proposed, all requests would be reviewed and granted directly by the Director of Community Development, and Planning Commission discretionary review would be removed. In addition, objective criteria and clear findings were also added. And these following sections were either modified to address this program as well. Program 28 relates to specialized housing types. This program aims to reduce regulatory barriers by streamlining the review process for special housing types in a manner that is consistent with state law. Emergency shelters would remain a by right use in the public and semi-public district and industrial park zones. Supportive housing would be established as a by right residential use in residential and non-residential zones which allow for multifamily uses. Supportive housing is generally a long-term housing solution which can provide medical or mental health services that would require state licensing or certification. Low barrier navigation centers would be defined and permitted as a by right use in mixed use and non-residential zones, which already allow for multifamily uses. Residential care facilities that serve 7 or more persons would be allowed in additional residential zones, which would include objective and specific use permit findings to improve predictability. And just generally, definitions and parking standards were also updated where applicable for each special housing type to be consistent with state law requirements. The following sections are proposed to be revised, as well as these sections either to be revised or added to satisfy this program. Minor code clarification and cleanups were included as part of this code amendment effort. Some of those include correcting prior code omissions by reinstating SB 9 unit developments in the land use table. This ensures consistency with state law and earlier adopted ordinances. This is a technical cleanup and no new policy is being proposed as part of this minor cleanup. And second, revising timing requirements to require recordation of an affordable housing agreement for density bonus apartment projects prior to certificate of occupancy rather than at building permit issuance. These following sections are proposed to be revised to implement the code clarification efforts. As part of public outreach for this code amendment, the Planning Commission conducted a study session on February 25th and a public hearing on April 22nd. A public notice was published in the Beach Reporter on May 1st, and interested parties in the California Coastal Commission were also notified via email. Notice was posted at City Hall and other city facilities. The item was rescheduled to the June 16th meeting, and no public comments were received as part of this item. The proposed amendments have been determined to be statutorily exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 21080.085 of the Public Resources Code. Staff recommends that City Council conduct a public hearing and introduce an ordinance to amend the MBMC and the MBLCP to implement 5 programs outlined in the city's housing element. This concludes staff's presentation. We're available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, colleagues.
And I just wanted to conclude with saying, like, none of this directly affects the ROD. These are sort of associated, housing element programs, not directly having anything to do with the ROD. And just as we do want to true up our local regulations so they're consistent with state law. We made that commitment in the housing element, and there are some outsized sort of implications if we don't do this. Including HCD asking us about our housing element commitments and potentially decertification if they found that as an appropriate reason. Yeah.
The only thing I'll add to that is that most of these programs, because they're already in state law and state law supersedes, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what our local zoning code says, because state law will still supersede. It's just that they want us to clean it up so everything lines up so it's easier for the user.
Okay, Councilmember Lesser.
Thank you, Marcella, for your report. And this is a question either for you or for you, Masa, based on an email exchange we had in advance of tonight related to Program 23, the preserving of housing capacity, or as it's known under state law, no net loss. And in particular, what I wanted to better understand for residents is if an owner of one parcel buys the parcel next to them, and this is an actual case study in my neighborhood where there are 2 25-foot lots where one property owner couple bought the lot next door. Tell me how this proposed code section would restrict their ability to have accessory structures on the adjacent lot. This is proposed section 10.52.050. Can you give some examples of what residents can do now, although I recognize state law preempts, as the city manager just mentioned, and what this code amendment would restrict?
Sure, so I can speak to the existing section of the code that is, as part of this amendment, is being repealed. So under MBMC 10.52.050, accessory structures such as pools, athletic courts, covered patios, and pool cabanas are permitted on parcels adjacent to parcels containing a single-family home. As part of the proposed amendment, as long as a lot has a primary residence, no accessory structures would be prohibited. So in the situation that you described, essentially we would say that a small residential unit would be placed on that parcel, and you would still be able to use that lot for any recreational amenities, such as those accessory structures that I listed would be available still that you could utilize on that lot.
So confirm what that structure must contain in order to be compliant. It must have a restroom, it must have a kitchen, it must have a bedroom. I mean, what are we talking about? That's what I'm trying to...
It would need to be a residential unit. The city currently does not have a square footage minimum for residential unit size. So it would be up to the property owner and based on zoning as well as building and safety regulations to ensure that that unit, however small or large it would be, would comply with applicable safety and zoning standards.
Years ago, I worked on the mansionization ordinance to try and limit the scale of new development, and there was a restriction on the number of lots that could be merged, no more than 2. But under that concept, the idea was to promote more open space back in the day. Here, with this requirement, and again, it might have already be preempted by state law, you cannot build over, again, 2 skinny lots. You cannot build, regardless of their size, you cannot build a structure over those 2 lots. Is that correct?
There's a subdivision act that prohibits any sort of construction in between lots, you would either have to do some sort of formal merging or some lot tie in order for that, for a building to be constructed across property lines.
And I'm sorry, one last question. Can that still occur under this provision? That's what I'm seeking to clarify.
Speaking to the mansionization efforts that were in previous, was it a decade or so ago? So I would say, depending on the zone and the location of a given lots, it may be more difficult to formally merge two lots together, because as part of the mansionization effort, maximum lot size requirements were also added to the code. So when a prospective person looking to merge two lots comes to the city, we take a look at what those minimum and maximum lot sizes would be for that specific zone, that specific area, and then from there we could determine if it would be appropriate, based on current zoning regulations for the maximum lot size, if that would be feasible.
If I may shed some additional light on that?
Yeah, go for it, because I want to ask follow-up. Go ahead.
So the impetus to this proposed amendment that's in front of you, this particular one, is the state's no net loss regulations. And so if you had two properties next to each other, both with single-family residences, and they both get purchased by the same property owner, then that property owner demolishes that residence so that they can just fence it off and make a larger backyard for themselves. You have now eliminated a housing unit that was otherwise providing a housing opportunity for someone. And so that is what this particular amendment is trying to address. It's trying to prevent the opportunity for eliminating housing units that could otherwise serve a residential purpose.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I appreciate all of your expertise and your technical knowledge. I think that Councilmember Lesser was trying to point out, because this has been a pretty, well, we live in a wonderful community where many people do this. Many, many people have done this, where they, buy the lot next to them. God bless them. There's a meadow on 6th Street, like next to a big house that somebody bought. So what you were saying is, well, sure, you could have a pool, but you still have to have a residence. But that's not what people are looking to do. Doesn't matter. I mean, the law is the law. And this is, again, to reiterate, this is not Manhattan Beach zoning or Community Development Office saying, oh, we think this is a good idea. You're saying, we do think it's a good idea so that we can comply with the state law. But that is what the state law is now saying, that there could be no net loss. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. That's all.
Were you going to go ahead? Go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
Okay. So I have a question back on slide 15. And just a quick question about what we've just been discussing. So it seems like the state is again, coming in and forcing us to do all these changes to our local zoning that we've had for quite a while. I guess I don't know. I just want to verify that the state is bringing in new requirements that we didn't have before. Is that correct?
There are state requirements that are touching on these code amendments, and it's also outlined in the city certified housing element. So as part of the housing element, these work efforts were identified, and these code amendments reflect what the housing element certified, which reflects state law requirements.
Right. Okay. So going to, thank you. And going to slide 15. So where it says proposed amendments maintain emergency shelters as a by right use in public, and then also establish supportive housing as a by right residential use. So is a supportive housing, can you give me some examples of what supportive housing is?
So supportive housing, and I also pulled this from the HCD website, is a permanent rental housing linked to a range of support services that are designed to enable residents to maintain stable housing and to lead fuller lives. So supportive housing currently was added to residential zones in all of our residential zones, and as well as in the commercial zones that allow for multifamily residential uses.
Okay, so supportive is meaning support like low to medium income housing, or?
Take this one. The word supportive simply reflects that in addition to the housing component of the building, they also have services that they provide to those residents to try to transition them to a more successful life. So that's what the supportive refers to. It's the services that are provided within the housing. So there could be a management office. Within that management office, they'll have someone who could offer them help with their resume or offer them help with job searches to try to transition them into a more successful life.
Okay. Do we have examples of that now? Is some
Not in the
housing?
city.
No, okay. All right. So is that like applied to like halfway houses and, rehab services, things like that?
That's a different, that would be a different classification. I'd have to look to see what that is.
Okay, great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Tarnay.
Thank you. Thanks, Marcella. I just want to know, do we, just in reviewing the proposed changes, and I understand we're just trying to put ourselves in compliance with the state's requirements so that we're not in violation and exposed to potential liability. But in the actual changes that are being proposed, do we currently have any projects or parcels where these changes directly affect currently?
No, we don't. No one's going to come in and, I would say to apply for a mobile home park.
Yeah.
In the city. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues? I'll open up public comments.
Hi, so my name is Lucia La Rosa Ames. I'm a resident of Manhattan Beach. And I want to say good evening, and Mayor and Council members. I do recognize the city is legally compelled to update its code, but we must not give up a single inch of local control beyond what the Sacramento strictly requires. And I am specifically thinking about Low Barrier Navigation Center, and the precise wording of this text is our community-only shield that we have, how we worded the ordinance. So I urge the Council to protect the public interest by securing explicit answers and modification of these following fronts. First, mandate an emergency revision, like a sunset clause, because currently the federal housing policy under HUD is rolling back the housing first model, which is what the Navigation Center are using, and restricting funding due to accountability issues. And also locally, the LA County voted to restructure its own homelessness oversight away from LAZA. If state mandate like AB 101, which is the one that you are trying to comply, shifts or face successful legal challenges, which federal government has promised, this ordinance must include a strict sunset trigger that automatically restores full local discretion authority to Manhattan Beach. Then I would suggest that you tighten the objective security standard, because the ordinance now requires a security plan, but a plan is just paper. And so I wonder, does our text explicitly mandate a minimum legally binding ratio of licensed on-site security guards per occupant? Or if not, we are abdicating our local police power. And then enforce aggressive nuisance protocols to prevent neighborhood disruptions. because, it's a housing first model, it means that the occupant that do not have to, the customers do not have to accept services. And this can create neighborhood disruptions because they may have mental illness or drug addiction. So the text must clearly dictate that any outdoor, uncontained trash, loitering, adhesion to a facility constitutes a zoning violation and is subject to administrative citations or the revocation of the operating certificate. And then I would say cap the footprint to absolute legal minimum. The state only forces by right access in commercial zones already permitted for multifamily housing. And we must have a public verification on the record tonight that our zoning map overlay does not accidentally slip in Aviation's industrial, residential, or public use district. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening once again, Stefan Kampa. Could you bring up page 44 of the red line version for me to share with the City Council? This is in regard to the supportive housing. I just want to make sure, I know you guys are kind of stuck in a weird spot here with the state kind of driving us down, but I think it's important that you guys see this red line text if you haven't seen it yet. It kind of says in B, it says up to 50 units permitted by right. It basically says supportive housing development with up to 50 units shall be permitted by right in all zones where multifamily and mixed-use residential developments are permitted through a non-discretionary zoning clearance. So just be aware that it's saying, they can go do this, right? So we don't have control as the city. Then it also says here, if the supportive housing development is located within 1/2 mile of a public transit stop, the units intended for occupancy by supportive housing residents shall not be subject to any minimum parking requirement. Okay? So that's another add-on for us. Then it says 100% of the units, excluding managers' units within the development, are restricted to lower-income households and are receiving or will receive public funding or ensure housing is affordable to lower-income households. It'd be interesting to know how we're going to control that and how that's going to be managed. It does say there's mandated how much floor area in here as well, but I encourage you guys to read this before you approve it. And interesting enough, we don't define supportive services in this document, but we refer to the state's definition, which is what I got was supportive services include but are not limited to a combination of subsidized permanent housing, intensive case management, medical and mental health care, substance abuse treatment, employment services, and benefits advocacy. Mixed feelings on this one, guys, because, my wife and Be Safe is trying to address our homeless issues. We need low-income housing and service areas to address this, but this could allow quite a few of these to develop in our area, and I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else in chambers? How about online?
No requests on Zoom.
Okay. Thank you. Colleagues? Comments? Well, actually, I have a follow-up question with regards to the Metro stop requirement. As I understand, that does not impact us because it doesn't fall within our zone.
The closest Metro stop is the Douglas station in El Segundo. A half mile from that just captures a few parcels on Rosecrans. Those large parcels just directly on the south side of Rosecrans. And I think that there are multifamily projects that have applied for those sites.
Okay, so, but it's not adjacent to residential?
No.
Homes?
The only area within that half-mile radius are on Rosecrans.
Okay. And is there, so what properties are there now? Just so I can visualize.
Connecta, trying to think.
Former Fiscal building.
Yeah.
Starting from the former Fiscal building, I think it's 1880 Rosecrans or 1800 Rosecrans, and then a few parcels south, west of that.
Including the shopping center parcels there that are
Crystal Farms.
active shopping center. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Colleagues? Councilmember Lesser?
I wanted to follow up with some of the comments we received from the public, and that is where we have discretion and where we don't. Where state law now mandates some of these provisions and where they don't. And as was mentioned in the presentation, where we're seeking to ensure that our housing element as adopted is consistent with state law. So I'm not sure who's best able to answer that question based on what we've heard. We've heard everything from potentially a sunset clause. Do we have the ability to enact that? Obviously, we need to talk about in what context. If a state mandate were withdrawn related to low affordable housing, I guess is the better term. And then also, as was just mentioned, to support multi-tenant projects in a multi-tenant zone. To what extent do we have discretion in parsing through some of these provisions as they're presented here?
I would say that the approach taken by staff was to meet the state minimum standards. So that's what you're seeing before you. We are just trying to get into compliance with state laws. As far as those state laws changing, of course, we can come back and modify this. A very good opportunity to do that is we're getting near the end of this housing element cycle, and we can, vet whatever state laws are on the books when we go into the seventh cycle. And if they dial back on these things, we can dial back on these programs in the seventh cycle housing element.
Is there a choice not to adopt these at all?
I mean, that is a option, but we will not be standing by the commitments that we made as an agency in the sixth cycle housing element. And, these are the rules on the books as far as the state goes, and all we're trying to do is match them. So there might not be that much benefit to that.
Thank you.
And
Councilmember Howorth.
Oh, go ahead. I'd like the city manager to respond.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And just to add what Director Alcar just said, to remind the council, if we're not in compliance with our housing element, that triggers a whole other set of repercussions from the state, including losing our permitting authority. If they were to decertify our housing element because of this, we would lose our permitting authority potentially through a court order and the Attorney General. We could open ourselves to not just litigation from the state itself, but also third-party litigation that could cost us a significant amount of money.
That was going to be my follow-up when you say, yes, that's an option, but like the specific ramifications of which are pretty dire.
Yes.
And I appreciate the question that you asked, like, where's our discretion? Do we have discretion? And it was very helpful to hear staff really scrub this to to just get to the minimum point where we would be in compliance, at least in compliance. And I think that's an important point. I mean, so thank you. Yeah, that's my question or whatnot.
Okay. Anybody else with comment? Mayor Pro Tem Tarnay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to commend staff for being proactive in ensuring that we're in compliance with state law. I know it feels like we, by updating our plan, that we are allowing the state to continue to take more power away from us. But as I understand it by what's been presented, we're doing what we can to ensure, to the extent possible, that we do maintain some local control, because being out of compliance means we lose all control. Yes. And so there are things, as Councilmember Lesser has brought up, there are things we can do and there are things we can't do. And I just hope our residents and people who are listening understand that this isn't us acquiescing to everything that the state is requiring, but ensuring that we're in compliance, we're doing what we have to do legally so that we can maintain as much local control as possible. So I appreciate the work that's being done. I know it's not easy to do this work, especially when you hear from residents who are upset that we don't have the control that we need to maintain our city in the way that we want to grow our city. So I appreciate the work. Thank you.
Councilmember Shirley.
Thank you, Mayor. And Director Alkire, I do appreciate you, the first comments that before you kicked off the presentation, just, letting us and the community know that this is, we're bringing this up as a tune-up. I think you mentioned it was a tune-up to our cycle 6. And the draft attachment, I mean, we can't cherry pick what we want and what we don't want off that. It's in compliance with HCD, and if we don't, there's all these other repercussions or violations. And this is an amendment to our municipal code and our LCP. I guess my only question would be, and thank you for, clarifying all those things for us to comply with state law. One of the residents, not Stefan, the other one that came up to speak, she had a whole bunch of things to say in the sense of there was a lot of questions. I couldn't write them all down. Is there like an overview answer that you can give to some of those things, just so we listen to all our residents?
I think my understanding of sort of the current situation with the housing first policies of various agencies in the area, that is sort of a point of contention. If that is reflected in state law in the future, we can come back. And I think that's, and yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
It's just a really difficult situation. Many of us have invested our family fortunes, our family, time and effort, design and everything in the homes that we treasure. This is a severe and, in some cases, acrimonious interference with our local housing. It's worth to push against it. There's opportunities out there to push against it. I encourage people to seek those out and let your voices be heard. We just went through voting. There's another place where you can go ahead and make your voices be heard. This is an egregious invasion of our property rights that we have enjoyed here in Manhattan Beach, and sympathize with other cities as well. To some cities, this is welcome because it helps encourage development. But developers tend to want to go to places that are nice places to live. We all know that about Manhattan Beach and our neighbors. So pay attention, help when you can, volunteer when you can. This is what the law is now. That's not to say that laws can't be changed, in the future. But it takes hard work. And it takes, you just can't look at everything as one size fits all. I mean, because California is a very diverse state. It has a lot of different types of cities and towns and things like that. Do we want affordable housing? Of course. And I've said from this dais many times, there's affordable housing in California. It just is not at the beach. And that's where everybody seems, to want to live, as most of us probably decided too when we made the decision to move to Manhattan Beach. But it's not possible, to do it for everyone. So just get involved, be aware, help out where you can, and hopefully we'll find some leadership to address this situation. Councilmember Howorth.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think we're all saying very valid, different parts of, you can sit down. I don't think you can sit down.
Yeah.
You can sit
Yes,
down.
thank you.
Go for it. I came here just to say that. No, I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to this, this issue, not necessarily this public hearing. It is, as Councilmember Shirley mentioned, we need to be in compliance with state law. We simply have to be. I don't want to put any, our community, our city, in any kind of decertification process. I don't want to put us in the way of major lawsuit that not one has been won. I'm not saying we shouldn't fight or, shouldn't try to make a difference in different ways, but I don't think it would be responsible to not support this. And as, our mayor said, we all want more affordable housing. And the thing is, you're getting a few units of affordable housing and you're getting lots and lots of other housing. So to me, it doesn't really fix the affordability issue in the state. I'll just state my opinion. However, I do believe we need to be in compliance with state law, and I think staff is doing a great job. I think you really scrubbed through this in such a technical manner, with an attention to detail to try to get us in compliance. And I just want to encourage our staff. I agree. I wish there could be different laws, and maybe there's other efforts that we can work towards. But I also know our staff has heard us loudly and clearly, and I'm pretty sure that when folks come and want to build here, I think staff is working with them to get a project that is, profitable, right? It's, individual property rights. You want that to happen, but also maybe, positive for the community. That's one thing we can do. I think, if you're a smart developer, you want people to like your project, right? I hope that's what they think. Anyway, I've said a lot. I wanted to say I have to vote because it would be irresponsible for me not to. But I hear the frustration that people are expressing. So I have seconded the motion.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Darnay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, I just want to reiterate that I have a motion on the floor to introduce ordinance number 26-0009, and primarily because I want to make sure that we're in compliance with state mandate and to retain as much local control as we can. So, and I'll defer to our city attorney to read the whole ordinance.
Yes, and so there was a second.
There was a second by Councilmember Howorth.
I'll read the title. Ordinance number 26-0009, an ordinance of the City of Manhattan Beach amending Title 10 of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code and Chapter A of the Manhattan Beach Local Coastal Program to implement several programs outlined in the city's six-cycle housing element.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes 4-1. Mayor Franklin voting no.
Okay, so we move on to item K, general business. Seeing nothing there, we will go to item L, City Council requests and reports, including AB 1234 reports. Seeing none. Item number 20. And do we have a staff report on this?
Yeah, I can give you a very brief staff report, and then since this is part of the three-step process, then we can hear from the council members who brought this to our attention 2 weeks ago. So pursuant to our three-step process, the council has the opportunity to add items onto the agenda. In this particular case, there was a speaker that talked about the order of the agenda, and so two council members wanted to bring us back to the city council to discuss the order of the agenda, in particular, the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
I do. This was a proposal, I believe, by Councilmember Howorth that I seconded to be able to talk about, and it's here with the context of whether there would be a third to move it forward, or maybe just to clarify what the current practice is, because as you, Mr. City Attorney, mentioned, there was a speaker that wondered, wait a minute, if we're approving the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, if a member of the public then subsequently comes in and has a question about an item that's on the consent calendar, how do we go about hearing that item? So I want to confirm what the process would be, what the practice is to comply with the Brown Act. I believe it has to do with going back and reconsidering the approval of the agenda. Is that right? Or why don't you go through what the practice is currently, even
Yes.
though it's a little cumbersome and confusing?
So once again, and this was adopted by various resolutions, most recently in 2018. So the process is the City Council will consider approval of the agenda, at which time they'll consider polling is the word, but removing items from the consent calendar for individual consideration. That provides the public an opportunity to know, hey, when I get up to speak before the consent calendar, I'll have another opportunity to speak at a later time with respect to items that were pulled. If the items are not pulled, their one opportunity to talk about the entire consent calendar is they'll have 3 minutes right before the consent right before the, during public comment, right before the consent calendar. If the item is pulled, they'll have a second opportunity, depending on the number of items pulled. They may have a second, third, and a fourth opportunity to speak. There have been times, and this is where Councilmember Lesser was asking, there are times when after the approval of the agenda, a person may come up and say, I really would like you to spend more time discussing a particular item, and then a council member would agree and make a motion to reconsider the approval of the agenda. And if there's a second, and if that motion passes, then the council approves the agenda with the exception of that particular item. So that's the current practice. It's been developed over at least 15 years, and we've had different variations depending on the Brown Act. And the Brown Act gets amended, and occasionally we've had to amend our agenda in compliance with the Brown Act.
Understood. Any other questions? Open up for public comment here in chamber. No? Okay, how about online?
No requests on Zoom.
Okay, so are we?
I don't need, I mean, I think that based on what our city attorney has said, I withdraw, my interest. And so it's not actually an item that we need to discuss.
I agree. I think it's worthwhile to have had this exercise to clarify what the process is, because it is cumbersome. But maybe we want to encourage members of the public to speak and know that there is a process for hearing an item that's on consent, if in fact there's a question that's raised.
Okay. Thank you. So no further direction on that. M, future agenda items. So I have one. We're going through the budget process, and we're asking staff to find ways to, save money, and because there's a structural deficit. So I think that we, as a council, should do the same thing and try to find ways that we can cut expenses. So what I propose is that we limit ourselves to 2 conferences a year per council person, so that we can save that money.
You're asking that come back for further discussion?
Yeah.
I'm happy to second that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. City Manager report, item N.
Thank you. This evening, I just wanted to announce for the council and the public, the council will be going dark on September 1st, Tuesday, September 1st this year for a summer break per se. So I just wanted to let the community know early on that we will not be having a council meeting on that day, and I will repeat this during future city manager reports to make sure everybody knows.
Great. Terrific. And city attorney report.
Yes, I'd like to thank all the council members for going to the Education Foundation's wine auction. I hope you all had a good time. I saw all 5 of you. And that's
I
it.
deny
That's
it.
my only report.
But not speaking with one another in violation of any
Of course.
restriction.
You're sitting
Yeah.
at different tables, and
Thank you.
there were no Brown Act violations.
And for Quinn, for all his support of the schools for so long. It's really remarkable.
So, item P, informational items. Seeing none. I don't quite understand, so the closed session, item Q.
Yeah, there's nothing on the actual agenda. We keep it there just in case.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Got it.
for instance, if the 5:30 meeting or the 5 o'clock meeting gets continued, that's the time we would resume the closed session.
Okay, and so we're going to adjourn to the regular, we're going to adjourn to the meeting, to an adjourned regular meeting on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026 at 5 PM.